Let's talk about a country who bring the vibe and atmosphere to every tournament, the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So for the last edition, they were at the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations, only losing that final to Cote d'Ivoire. And this year, they are back to make another attempt to try and win the tournament. Nigeria will be making their 21st appearance at the AFCON in hopes of winning their 4th title. So coming into this tournament, they actually ranked number 5th in Africa and 38th in the world. So on paper, you would consider them amongst the favorites on paper. The Super Eagles team qualified to the AFCON after finishing top of their group in qualification, which included Benin, Rwanda, Libya, and they lost just one game the entire process. So let's dive deep into the Nigeria team, and this is the 28 players selected to defend the green and white Super Eagles. And this team has 5 players who are actually making their debut, their first ever appearance for the Super Eagles team. The most notable name will have to be Ebenezer Akinsamiro, the young midfielder who played for Remo Stars in the Nigeria Premier League, then to Inter Milan, and currently playing for Pisa in the Italian Serie A. This Nigeria team is stacked with quality, proper quality, especially in attack. But a lot of problems have to be said about their defense. First, Benjamin Fredrick, a young defender who had been a revelation, total revelation for the national team and was going to be one of the key players to be dependent on during the AFCON, got injured just a few weeks to the start of the competition, and he has been completely ruled out. Then the captain of the team, William Troost, Ekong, who was also the best player of the last AFCON, retired just a few days to the AFCON, and he would also not be at the tournament. So they are missing out on experience and also missing out on quality just at the back alone. But to make up for this, they have actually gotten players in rich vein of form. They are firing at all cylinders in recent times, and let's highlight a few. Samuel Chukwueze has actually got 5 goals and assists in the last 5 games he has played for his club side. So translating this form into the AFCON will be a huge boost for the Super Falcons. Then you have Paul Onuachu, who is the current top scorer of the Turkish Super League, and he has also scored 4 goals in his last 5 games. So this is a player on fire. Then even Chidera Ejuke, the man who scored his first ever goal for Nigeria only last month in November, he also scored for his club Sevilla recently, which was his first ever goal in 9 months. So the players are literally finding their form just before the AFCON. But with players in rich vein of form, let's now look at some of the key players in the team who will likely make huge impacts at the AFCON. And number 1 needs no introduction, Victor Osimhen. So this man is currently the top scorer and the current top scorer for the Nigerian national team amongst the active crop of players. Nobody has scored more goals than him. So he screams goals anytime he plays for the Super Eagles. And even for all-time Nigeria, he's the second. And if he has a good AFCON, it's possible by the time the AFCON comes to an end, there will be no player in the history of Nigeria football that has scored more goals for the national team than Victor Osimhen. He's simply the X factor, and that's because he simply does not give up. A relentless player who starts the press right from him, press opposition sides. He dives in, goes in for every ball with the head, with the leg. Simply gives everything on the pitch, and it's so evident. Also with world-class finishing technique, it's so evident that he will be one of the key players, if not the most key player for the Nigeria team at the AFCON. Then you have Alex Iwobi, who has played now almost 90 games for the Nigeria national team, one of the most experienced players in the teams. And he has transitioned from being a much more fully fledged attacker to now being sort of a box-to-box player, where you see him covering a lot of areas on the pitch. So even at his club side, he's one of the players who has covered a lot of grass on the pitch. But mostly operating from the left side in midfield, you find him not only attacking, but also trying to make tackles, winning possession for his team, then also regulating or dictating play, especially from midfield. And it's no surprise that he's part of the players who have created the most chances for his club side this season. Then my third pick will have to be the goalkeeper, Stanley Nwabali. So before Nwabali became the regular starter for Nigeria, they had troubles with their goalkeeping department. So from Maduka Okoye at the AFCON 2021, making a mistake against Tunisia, which led to Nigeria's elimination, to Vic Francis Uzoho making an error, which led to Nigeria not qualifying to the 2022 World Cup. This department was highly plagued with a lot of problems. But then after the takeover of Stanley Wabali, he restored that confidence in the back. And it was no surprise that at the 2023 AFCON, he was the man in post, kept a lot of clean sheets, leading Nigeria all the way to the final. But in recent times, even him seems to be suffering from errors at the back. Most recently, the game against Lesotho, where he made a couple of errors, which almost could have denied Nigeria spots even in the World Cup playoffs. But with the AFCON, his role will be very key, because for Nigeria to advance possibly to a final or even win the trophy, he would have to make almost 0 errors. And I think he will be one of the key departments and key players in the Nigeria team should they make it at this AFCON. They'll be at the AFCON with Eric Shell, a coach of Mali descent, and he was actually the coach of Mali at the last Africa Cup of Nations, where they were eliminated in the quarterfinal stage in a dramatic late winner from the eventual winners, Cote d'Ivoire. But he's now coach of Nigeria, and after failing to make it to the World Cup with the Super Eagles, it seems at this AFCON he has nothing else than to give a solid performance, at least maybe reach a semi-final, a final, or even win the trophy for the Super Falcons, so his job could possibly be at risk. But Nigeria will be in group with Tunisia, also in group with Uganda, then Tanzania. And the Super Falcons have a very balanced history with Tunisia. So in 2019, for instance, Nigeria beat Tunisia to win the AFCON bronze medal. Then the next edition in 2021, it was Tunisia who beat Nigeria in the round 16 stage to eliminate the Super Falcons. So it's 50-50 relationship between the two sides. Then for Uganda, surprisingly, Uganda actually have the upper hand over Nigeria. So Nigeria has not been able to beat Uganda in 18 years. 18 years. They've not been able to beat Uganda. The last time Nigeria did that was in 2007, 18 years ago. But then if you compare competitive games, which this AFCON is actually a competitive game, Nigeria do have the upper hand. So let's see which wins, the overall upper hand or the competitive games upper hand when it comes to Nigeria and Uganda. Then you have Tanzania, who Nigeria have the complete upper hand over them because they haven't lost a game in their entire history. They haven't lost a game to Tanzania, and they have this to protect. But my prediction on this group, I think on paper it looks easy, but in reality it's a bit more difficult, especially given that Nigeria and Tunisia is a 50-50 affair. Uganda is going to be a very challenging tie for the Super Eagles. Then Tanzania, who they have to uphold that record. But my prediction, I expect Nigeria to make it out of this group. But in the tournament as a whole, I'll give them a cup of quarterfinals at this AFCON. But let me also know what you think. You think it's quarterfinals? Will they go more than that? Just let me know.